Yeah.
I want to thank you so much for joining us on Dream Chasers Radio. We have Mr. Marc Sparks here today. Woo-hoo! What's up, bro? How you doing?
Hello, how are you doing? Very nice to talk to you today.
And you too. Now, it's such a pleasure to have you on. Okay, no, I don't know if people know what you've done, but let's back up a little bit so we can give them the full, not a full story. I know that's a long story, but a little bit of your story. So how did you get started?
Actually, to be honest with you, I was a pretty good college football player, and I actually was wanting to play football in the NFL for 15, 20 years, that kind of thing. And what ended up happening is that I tried that for a little while and it didn't work out for me. And I ended up taking a job as a controller for a restaurant. So it was basically a restaurant / sports bar, and I did that. And when I worked there, this was before they were able to get funding and that kind of thing. And so I was trying my best to hold the place together, and I found a memo that basically said, the moment that we get funding, the first thing that we're going to do is fire Marc.
Oh my gosh, no way.
So they got their funding, and the first thing that they did was fire me. Okay. And so my cousin Tracy ended up loaning me $7,000, and I started my first sports bar, which was a sports bar named Dimensions. Well, it was Sports Dimensions. And, we were open. Monday night was Monday Night Football. Tuesday night was comedy. Wednesday night was karaoke. Thursday night was ladies night. Friday night was fish and chips. Saturday night was ladies night again. And Sunday night was jazz and jamming. Sounds great, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Well, it was an absolute flop, and nobody was coming to this BS to see this. It was horrible. Okay. And so right before I was getting evicted, right, some girls from Johnson C. Smith came by, and they were like, listen, we want to be able to have a party here. Can we have a party? And I'm like, sure, because I'm getting evicted in about 10 days. So come on, and we're going to have this party. So they ended up doing like close to 400 people that night. I'm like, wow. And then I asked them, well, what exactly did you do? I don't understand. Okay. And so they basically wrote out on a sheet of paper, hey, come to my party, and ended up making copies and sliding it under everybody's door at the dorm. So I learned that they had a very warm organic market. So it was a situation where, okay, everybody goes to the college. So therefore, if we want to do something, all of our college friends are going to support us because we all go to the same school. Okay. So they had a warm organic market. And so I began to change my marketing concept, and I began to focus on the colleges. And so, that's how I ended up building my business, where I would dominate the college market. And then, the rest of the city would come next, and so on and so forth. And I have been able to use this business model over the last 26 years. I've owned 21 clubs in the last 26 years, and my brand has been, revolutionary. It's developed and have taken many twists and turns over the years. I mean, but, Club Hush is probably the #1 urban hip hop club in the country, and we're in the process right now of being able to expand overseas and into larger markets and that type of thing.
I love it. Okay, so I have a question. What about the place? Did it eventually did you get evicted?
No. The sports bar turned into the nightclub or whatever.
Oh my gosh.
It has been great ever since,
That is so cool. So, I mean, at the point of almost no return, you returned.
I returned. The sports bar turned into a nightclub. I never, in a million years, thought about getting into the nightclub business. But like I said, sports bar turned into the nightclub. I mean, there was, God intervened and ended up turning my path to another, situation that has been extremely successful for me over the last 26 years. 26 years,
26 years.
26
26 years of $7,000.
I basically have probably turned that $7,000. They did a study one time. I've turned that $7,000 into a little over $50 million.
Wow. Wow. It can be done. Now, the biggest thing I'm looking at is you wanted to be a football player. You didn't want to be no nightclub owner.
No, I didn't. I didn't. That wasn't in my plan.
So what happened? I mean, were you regretful in the beginning of having these nightclubs, but not actually being a football player?
No, not really. I mean, it was a situation where, you know what? A lot of people don't end up finding, what their purpose is in life and what ends up making them happy, And for me, I found that, I mean, being a nightclub owner is 50 times better than being a football player, As a matter of fact, I had someone to ask me one time, they had a big lottery that was going on, and they said, well, if you ended up winning the lottery, okay, and you had $400 million to invest in to open any type of business in the world that you would want to open, what would you want to do? I said, the nightclub business.
Yeah.
So, I found my lane. So I'm happy in my lane.
Wow. Wow. So you've had so many different amazing guests at your place, but Club Hush, I mean, you built it from that $7,000. I mean, what is one of the biggest experiences that you've ever had that you will never forget that really taught you the direction you need to go in?
Well, the thing is that this right here, right? It's kind of like the fact that when you got a certain level of a pedigree and a certain level of experience or whatever, you begin to appreciate a lot of things. Like right now, everybody's into social media, but let me explain something to you about social media. We were doing this before it was social media. And what we used to do is we would have 11 by 17 posters, okay? And we would write the name of the event, then we would write the actual date and then the club. And we would get those posters and we would go and put them on telephone poles, okay? And we would start off on one end of the street and it would take us 3 or 4 days, but we would paper the whole city. That was our social
media. I remember that.
And so we would do that, and then we would then turn around and we would do the posters first. So when people say, hey, what's that on the posters? And then the radio would start hitting on Wednesday or Thursday or whatever. Now they're hearing it on the radio. Now the next step is now they're hearing it word of mouth, and they get a flyer on the car, and now they're coming to your event for sure. I mean, because it's the happening thing to do. So I've been able to basically learn how to be able to build a club and to build a clientele and a following, and to be able to dominate my market basically from a grassroots standpoint, and to be able to continue to create something great. So for me, it's a lot, because I visualize something in my mind that I want to do, an event or whatever, and to be able to put that in motion, and then thousands of people come out, I mean, to give me money for something that just started in my mind, And then sometimes, once you've been doing it a long time, you'll look back and be like, wow, what were some of the super more special moments? Like, I remember the first time I met Beyonce. I mean, that was absolutely great, because I'll never forget, that she was on the stage or whatever, and we were all backstage, and she comes off, and then she, we're having a conversation, and she was trying to tell me her name, and I couldn't say it. I thought she was saying Beyonce, not Beyonce. Beyonce now is such an iconic name, but back then I couldn't say it, and she was trying to teach me how to say her name. And so I remember that. And then I also remember, like, one of my best, nights ever was, we had a guy by the name of DJ K Nice. He was my DJ that night. And then actually Mary J. Blige showed up to my club, as well as Casey and JoJo and Jodeci. And they all, didn't come to perform. They just were at the club. And then they ended up getting, on the mic and performing and that type of thing. It was just so, incredible. The entire building, was just rocking. And those are some of the moments that you kind of remember, So I've got a lot of them, but those were the two that kind of stick out in my mind. And I'll tell you another one, okay?
Go ahead, please.
The first time I met Jay-Z, okay?
Oh, okay.
And he was actually opening up for an artist by the name of Foxy Brown, okay?
Okay.
And we were doing the after party, and I couldn't afford Foxy Brown, but I could afford this guy, Jay-Z. So he comes to the club, and so he and we start drinking liquor, okay? And so we're having a conversation about, you know, the strength of the hip hop market and that kind of thing. And at that time, Budweiser had just came out with commercials that they were talking about, what's up? Remember those?
Yeah.
And so at that time, we were just discussing how, you know, the hip hop is becoming mainstream, and now Budweiser and all these large corporations are starting to want to capitalize on this urban dollar, you know. And so we were having a philosophical and an economic conversation about that, and it's so interesting that, you know, years and years later, I mean, he's been able to create an incredible living, and I've been able to create a good living for myself, you know, all off of this particular genre of music.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. You know, wow. I mean, I grew up in the clubs, you know, just 2 o'clock in the morning, the show goes on at 2 a.m. I remember all of that. And, you know, it's a hard profession to do. What
Sure.
kind of advice do you give to the person that wants to begin?
Here's the thing, right? It's so hard, I mean, to kind of get involved in this type of thing. I mean, but first of all, you have to be able to learn your market, and you've got to create yourself a specific niche, okay? And then you got to be able to, you know, to have some luck and some divine intervention and that type of thing to be able to last long enough to be able to learn what to do and what not to do. I was just fortunate that I was able to stay in the business, you know, to get through my first 4 or 5 years and not knowing what the heck I was doing until I began to be able to cultivate my brand and to understand my marketing and other stuff like that I was doing, you know. But, you know, if it wasn't for some divine intervention and God, you know, helping me with that situation, I couldn't have gotten there. You know, so I think that that's important, and to be able to get some divine intervention and to be able to find, you know, what it is that you're good at, and to be able to walk into your niche. Everybody's got a lane, you know, and so you got to be able to stay in your individual lane with what it is that you do, and to continue to be able to perfect your craft.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes the craft that you think you're going into isn't the craft you're going to end up in.
That is correct. Absolutely.
Obviously, because if you were a famous football player, we wouldn't be talking about this now.
This is correct.
That's right. That's right. So tell us about the club now.
Well, you know, we are actually in a very unique position right now. You know, all of our clubs are, you know, 2,000 to 3,000 people clubs. Okay. So, you know, with the pandemic and that type of thing that kind of happened, it kind of put me in a situation where I wanted to refine and refocus my model, where now, you know, we're going into major markets. We're going into Las Vegas. We're going into Houston. You know, we've got a, you know, a opportunity to go into a hotel in a casino in Las Vegas right now. You know, we're looking to open a place in Houston right now. We're looking to open a place in LA. But once we get those 3 done, we're going to Dubai. Then we're going to London. We're going to Seoul, Korea. We're going to Tokyo, Japan. Then we're coming back and we're going to Johannesburg, South Africa. You know, we're going to France. A lot of these other larger, you know, major markets. We're going to, you know, Pablo Brazil, you know, places like that. And so we're looking to be able to take this Club Hush brand and to be able to take it to worldwide into large, you know, international markets, and to continue to expand the brand, you know. So, you know, I'm extremely excited right now. You know, please, you know, follow us on social media. You know, our Instagram is @ClubHush, you know, as well as you can check us out at www.clubhush.org. So, you know, so we got a Club Hush coming to a city near you.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, congratulations on everything. And this all started from $7,000 and a bunch of college girls.
Yeah, that's right. That's how.
I mean, you would never think. I mean, come on. I mean, go back into time and you would see these bunch of college girls going, hey, can we use your place for our party? And all of a sudden, ding, 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 ding. I mean, $7,000 and almost getting evicted. This is where it's headed. And I am so proud of you. I'm just so happy for you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And I see that you're doing great things. I mean, with your podcast and that kind of thing. And so we're, you know, praying for your continued success and that type of thing. So keep doing what you do.
We will, and we'll keep covering you. Just send us all of your progress. I would love to like cover a day in the life of you guys, opening up your new, you know, things in Dubai and Europe and UK, and you know, hey, maybe even come out and cover it live in person.
That sounds great. You know, we'll definitely make that happen. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I just got back from a red carpet. Let's do one.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Thank you so much for your advice. And hey, Club Hush, guys, if you guys want to go out and have a good time and just enjoy great music and hip hop, go out to Club Hush. They're coming to a city near you. We're going to have all of that information in the description box below, and we're going to keep up with him so that way he can keep up with us and let us know what's going on, because I love expansions.
Sounds wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you guys again so much for tuning in. Don't forget to dare to be different. Until next time, guys. Bye.
Yeah. You are kidding.
I dare to be different. I dare.